Good morning, dear learners. In this video, we are going to learn about correlation analysis. Here, we are going to learn about bivariate analysis. There are univariate analysis, which includes the study of only one variable, like we have seen in case of measures of central tendency, measures of central tendency, right? We have seen in case of dispersion, skewness. In all these cases, we have studied about one variable. Where we are taking only one variable, it is being denoted as variable x, right? Now we are going to see about bivariate analysis. Bivariate analysis. In this, we will be seeing two things. One is correlation and another one is regression. Bivariate means what? Bi means two, variate means variable. Right, here we will be using two variables, namely x and y. When we take into consideration correlation or regression, it means what? It is a study of two or more variables. It is a study of two or more variables, right? But in our case, we'll be seeing two variables, which is known as a, in case of correlation, it is known as simple correlation. It is known as a simple correlation. Moving to the topic, what is correlation? Moving to the topic, let us see what do you mean by the term correlation. Since I've already told you that in case of measures of central tendency, dispersion, and skewness, it studied only single variable. And that variable was being denoted as x. Now we'll be studying, in case of correlation, we'll be focusing more on simple correlation. Simple correlation, wherein we are going to develop a relationship between the extent of relationship between two variables, right? Like x and y. How to, for what extent these two variables are related to each other. This is what we are going to see. There may be relationship between what? Relationship between age of husband and age of wife. This is how we are going to find out the relationship between how the age of husband is correlated with the age of wife. Height of father and height of son. So therefore, on the basis of this, what we are going to do is we are going to find out the relationship between this. So let us see what is the meaning of correlation. It tells you about what? It tells you about the degree of relationship between two variables. It tells you about the degree of relationship of variables, two or more variables. It tells you about the degree of relationship of two or more variables. To what extent these variables, for example, if you are taking x and y, to what extent this variable is having a closeness, right? Whether they are having positive relationship, whether they are having negative relationship, or whether they are having no relationship. If there is no relationship, the correlation is said to be zero. If positive, the result will be in positive. If negative, the result will be in minus. So this is the meaning of correlation. Let us see what are the different types of correlation. There are three types of correlation. The first one is positive. The correlation can be divided into three categories. The first one is positive and negative correlation. Let us see what is positive correlation and what is negative correlation. When we talk about positive correlation, which means what? On the basis of positive, on the basis of direction, of change in the variable, on the basis of direction of change in variable, we can find out whether it is positive or negative. For example, x and y. If x is increasing, y is also increasing. If x is decreasing, y is also decreasing. These two situations are known as positive correlation. You can see when x is increasing, y is increasing. When x is decreasing, y is decreasing. Simply we can see when there is a direct relationship between x and y. When there is a direct or positive relationship between x and y, it is known as positive correlation. Like x value is increasing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Y value is also increasing like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Likewise, if it is decreasing, this is also decreasing. It is a case of positive correlation. Point number two, let us see what do you mean by the second one. The correlation may be divided into simple correlation, it may be divided into partial correlation and multiple correlation. Multiple correlation. We are going to see this one only as per our syllabus, right? But we will see what is the meaning of this. Simple correlation means what? When we talk about simple correlation, it means that when we study only two variables. Simple correlation is that correlation when we study only two variables, it is known as simple correlation. It is known as simple correlation. In our example, in our case, we will take x and y. If you are being provided with two variables, you will denote one variable as x and the other variable as y. For example, if you are being provided with age of husband and age of wife, the variable which is given first will be denoted as x and the variable which is given next will be denoted as y. Right, this is known as simple correlation where you are studying only two variables. Second one is partial. Second one is partial correlation. Second one is partial correlation. In case of partial correlation, what happens? In case of partial correlation, what happens? Here, you will be studying two or more. Generally, you are going to study two or more variables, but one variable's nature will be constant. Like you are taking two variables are there. For example, two variables you are taking here, and here one variable will be constant. Two variable will be there and one variable will be other variable. For example, x and y you are taking and other variable is z. The nature of the z variable is being kept as constant. Is the nature of partial correlation. For example, if you are studying the relationship between what? For example, relationship between the yield of paddy and the amount of rainfall. Amount of rainfall. You know that it is the production of paddy depends upon the amount of rainfall, right? So these are the two variables and you are keeping one variable as constant, like fertility of land. The fertility of land will never change, will not change unless and until we are not trying it. Okay, so there is certain situations wherein we are keeping one variable as constant and the other two infinite. So generally you can see that these two variables are influencing each other and this variable is being kept constant. So this is a case of partial. Third one is linear and non-linear correlation. Linear and non-linear correlation. By the name itself, it is very clear. Linear means what? There is some linear correlation means what is linear correlation? What is non-linear correlation? For example, if a change in y, if there is a change in y, you can witness that x and y is changing in some constant ratio. X and y is changing in some constant ratio. When there is a change in x as well as variable y in some constant ratio, it is changing. It is known as linear correlation. Simply, we can say that if the amount of the change in one variable, for example x, if the amount of the change in one variable tends to bear what? A constant change in the amount of change in the other variable known as y. For example, you can take two variables I am giving. You're just 5 to the 10, 5 to the 15, 5 to the 20, 25. Likewise, you are putting. For example, some figure like 8, 80, 81s are 80, 82s are 160, 240. Likewise, you can see there is a constant ratio on the basis of which it is changing. So this is coming under what? When there is a constant ratio, this is known as linear correlation. When the changes is not in constant ratio, it is known as non-linear correlation, right? Non-linear means what? Ratio is not constant. Non-linear means what? Ratio is not constant. You can see it does not have what? It does not bear a constant ratio. It does not bear a constant ratio. It is coming under what? Non-linear. So you can see that if I am writing like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Here you can witness a particular ratio, but you are not going to witness. You see 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, likewise. So this is not at all having a constant ratio. So it is coming under non-linear correlation. Let us see what are the methods. Let us see what are the methods of studying correlation. Let us see what are the methods of studying correlation, right? There are, generally speaking, there are 5 different methods. Let us see what are they. First method is the scatter diagram method. First method is the scatter diagram method. Second method is the graphic method. The third method is the Carl Pearson's coefficient of correlation. Coefficient of correlation. Fourth method is Spearman's rank correlation, or we can write as rank correlation coefficient. And the fifth method is the concurrent deviation method. Concurrent deviation method. Right. These two methods are the graphical method, diagrammatic methods, we can say. The Carl Pearson's coefficient of correlation. It is the most important method when compared to the other methods, right? This is the most important method when compared to the other methods, and this method is widely used. This method is widely used. Okay, we'll see one by one. Let us see. In this video, we'll be dealing with the first one. What is scatter diagram method? What is scatter diagram method? Let us see what is scatter diagram method. In case of scatter diagram method, it is the most simplest device. We can say it is the most simplest device which is being framed in order to find out the relationship between two variables. The relationship between two variables. Fine. Scatter diagram method. This method is also known as dot chart method. This method is also known as dot chart method. So in case of scatter diagram method, what you can see is you can get the values of x and y on a particular diagram, on the basis of which you can develop the relationship, right? You can develop the relationship. You can see that the values, generally the correlation is being symbolized as small letter r, and the values of r varies between plus minus 1. You can see that when we talk about plus minus 1, it means the value of r ranges between minus 1 to plus 1, right? Generally, if you get like minus 1, it means what? It means perfect positive correlation. It means perfect positive correlation. And if it is plus 1, which means it is perfect negative correlation. And if it is r equals 0, which means there is no correlation. This is how we are discovering the relationship between two variables: perfect positive, perfect negative, and there is no correlation. Right. So let us see. In case of scatter diagram, what we are going to see is in case if there is more scatterness, if you are witnessing on a diagram, more scatterness if you are witnessing in a diagram, it is known as what? More scatterness means it refers to what? Low degree. Less scatterness means less number of dots if you are witnessing in the diagram, it is known as high degree. If there is no scatterness is not there, no scatterness, and it all falls on a straight line, it is known as perfection. Right? Let us see what do you mean by scatter diagram method. For example, you can see that the first diagram I am drawing here, let it be x and y. For example, this is your straight line, right? This is your straight line, and the values are falling on a straight line. This is which portion? Left hand portion. As you're drawing, no, you can just check which one is your left side and which is your right side. Since I am drawing this, I could see that this is my left hand side and this is my right hand side, right? When you can see that all the points of x and y is falling on a straight line, it is a straight line, it is falling on a straight line. You can see these are the points, and all the points of x and y is falling on a straight line, and it is moving from which portion? This is left portion, left hand, which corner? Lower corner, lower left hand corner to the upper right hand corner. This is the case where the correlation is equal to plus 1. This is is what we can say, it is known as perfect positive correlation, right? Next one is this one, x and y. just the opposite of the first one, which is known as perfect negative, and from the upper lower hand corner to the right hand corner, lower right hand corner, when all the values fall, moving from the upper left hand corner to the lower right hand corner, it is known as r is equal to -1. This is known as perfect negative correlation. Right, this is known as perfect negative correlation. Now you can see that when we are talking about positive, positive means it will be moving from left hand lower corner to the right hand upper corner, and perfect negative means what? Left hand upper corner to the lower right hand corner. So this is the thing, right? For and next one is how to find out the high degree. We can see that in case if this scatterness is less and it is moving from lower left hand corner to the upper right hand corner, you see the scatterness is less, very less number of scatterness you can witness, and when the scatterness is left and moving from left hand corner to the right hand corner, it is known as what? It is known as high degree of positive correlation. It is known as high degree of positive correlation, right? Here we are going to see the next one, that is high degree of negative. Same way you are going to make it like this. The same way you are going to make it like this, right? It is known as high degree of negative correlation. High degree of negative correlation. Yeah. This is your x, this is your y. This is your x and this is your y. Right? The next one we are going to see is low degree. Low degree means what? Scatterness is more. When it is moving from lower left hand corner to the upper right hand corner, and you can witness more scatterness, more dots you are witnessing. So it is known as what? It is known as low degree of, it is known as low degree of positive correlation. Right? Likewise, here also you can see that it will be opposite. You have to put more dots, right? More dots, but the direction need to be clear from where it is moving. It should show a negative direction, right? So it is also negative direction. You can see low degree of negative correlation. Low degree of negative correlation, right? Okay. The last one is when you are not going to find out the direction, you are not able to get the direction, and you feel it is parallel to x as well as it is parallel to y. It is parallel to x and it is parallel to y, like this, x and y. This is also x and y. This is x and y, right? So here you can see we are not able to develop. The correlation is no correlation. You see, this is the first method known as scatter diagram method. This is the first method known as scatter diagram method. The next method, this is your scatter diagram method. The next method is your method number 2, graphic method. Second method is your graphic method. Under this method, what happened? For both the variables known as x and y, for both the variables, you are going to plot the figures on the graph. Plot the figures on the graph. For example, this is a diagram where you are having both the variables x and y here. X and y on the OY axis. This is your OX axis and this is your OY axis. On this OY axis, you are going to show both the variables. This may be in respect of some periods like January, February, March, April. Likewise, you may be having. It may be in respect of, for example, if I am taking advertisement and sales. If I am taking advertisement and sales and the figure is given in the graph. For example, period is given, advertisement is given and sales is given. For example, you can see period is given like January, February, March. Some advertisement, some figure is given like 20, 25, 28. Some figure is given like 30, 36, 37. Just for understanding, you can see. Okay, so you know how to plot these values. If January A is 20, you have to see before this plotting the graph, you should check what is the maximum value of A and what is the minimum value of it. Likewise, and accordingly you can plan this values, what values you have to put with what gap you have to put. Okay, in case if you are having advertisement and sales, for example, this is my advertisement curve. If I am drawing, I'm using different color. For example, if this is my advertisement curve, it is going like this. This is my advertisement curve, and one more curve I am going to draw. For example, this one. You can see this is your sales curve. So both are moving in the same direction. Both are moving in what direction? Same direction. If it is falling, it is coming in the same direction. If it is increasing, it is moving in the same direction. At that time, we can say it is positive. If it is moving in the opposite direction, if it is moving in the opposite direction, then only then we can say it is having a negative correlation. Then we can say it is having a negative correlation. So this is a graphical method. The first one is scatter diagram method and the second one is graphic method. Carl Pearson we will be seeing in the next video. If you have any doubts or anything, you can leave in your comment. Thank you.